when I did my studies in Montreal in Canada, all my friends were asking me, where do you come from? I said, Mauritius. They say, where's that? I said, in the Indian Ocean. And they say, Indian Ocean? Then I had to say, near Madagascar. Some of them didn't know what is Madagascar. Then I had to say, near South Africa. So thank you very much. So it is indeed a great pleasure for me to address this august gathering of dignitaries and different stakeholders from the global tourism travel industry. I wish to thank the organizers for this important Congress for their kind invitation to express my appreciation for the opportunity offered to me to be part of this international event and deliver a keynote address on the theme Global Trends in Creative Economies. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme education, entrepreneurship, and tourism are drivers of sustainable economic growth chosen by the organizers for this year's Congress is highly relevant and fitting for many reasons. Firstly, education, entrepreneurship, and tourism unlock new avenues in terms of job creation and bring economic benefits to their national and local communities. Second, both tourism and entrepreneurship offer an opportunity for countries to diversify from commodity export activities and add new pillars to their economic structure for sustainable development. Third, education, entrepreneurship, and tourism development can be leveraged as a vital component of the socio-economic development and poverty reduction strategies in pursuit of the UN Millennium Development Goals. Fourth, education, entrepreneurship, and pro-poor tourism play a critical role in economic democratization and women empowerment. Fifth, tourism is a business sector that offers vast development opportunities for the private sector, SMEs, and local handicraft sectors. Last, tourism-related activities and entrepreneurship have economic, social, and political dynamics that impact on both the urban and rural landscape of an economy. As Minister of Tourism and Leisure of the Republic of Mauritius, I can only rejoice and commend the organizers for choosing such a live topic as one of the themes for this year's Congress. It is widely acknowledged that sustainable development, poverty eradication, and acquisition of skills and competencies for the labor market rests largely on education. It would be pertinent for me to recall here what Sir Arthur Lewis, the Nobel laureate for economics in 1979 and one of the founding fathers of development economics, had to say about poverty. Quote, "The fundamental cause to poverty is not money, but education. Educating and empowering the poor is the only way of helping the poor to get out of the vicious circle of poverty." How can we tackle the current and upcoming global challenges if we are not educated? So education is very important. This is why Mauritius has put a lot of money in terms of education in our budget. I would like to share with you the experience of my country. Mauritius is a small volcanic island state of 1,865 square kilometers located in the Indian Ocean between Africa, Asia, and Australia, and which has no natural resources other than its 1.2 million inhabitants to compete in the global marketplace. Since the independence in 1968, our policy has been to invest massively in our people, so much that education has since made free at pre-primary, primary, and secondary levels. transport is free for all students to attend school. The education system purports to drive economic development and improve our standard of living. Last year, the budget of the Ministry of Education and Human Resources amounted to $4.5 billion. My country has achieved high enrollment rates with 97% at pre-primary level, 100% at primary level, 84% at secondary level, and 46% at tertiary level in 2012. National literacy rate stood at 94% for age group 20 to 24 and 85% for the whole population in 2012. Higher education is increasingly being recognized as an essential prerequisite to move Mauritius to the next phase of its economic development. It has the potential to improve productivity and competitiveness, promote innovation and research by providing high-level skills required by the labor market. Recent years have witnessed the expansion of higher education, increased private participation in provision of education and demand for new skills in the labor market. Currently, there are 60 private institutions and 11 publicly funded institutions offering more than 700 programs. Recently, we have created a separate ministry dedicated to tertiary education, science, research, and technology to broaden access to tertiary education. Ladies and gentlemen, SMEs are recognized worldwide as an effective instrument for employment. Even in countries where big corporations dominate, SMEs contribute sustainably towards employment creation. They account for 98% of employment in Indonesia, 78% in Thailand, and in Mauritius, it accounts to, in fact, in Mauritius, the SME sector accounts for 52% of total employment and 40% of GDP. Mauritius has a large SME sector relative to the size of its population, which is 1.2 million. As at 31st of December 2012, there were some 110,000 of small and medium enterprises in Mauritius and only 400 large units. We have taken firm measures to expand economic space for entrepreneurship to grow and SMEs to expand. What we have done is simple. We have streamlined our administrative and regulatory procedures to ensure that small entrepreneurs have an easy process to set up and start business. We have come with new legislative measures. We have been able to greatly simplify procedures and create business-friendly environment for SME development in Mauritius, whereby local authority are under obligation to process and approve permits and clearances of SMEs within 3 working days and 10 working days in other authority. SMEs are also encouraged to set up their enterprises on the basis of compliance with guidelines and ex-post control by the authorities. Ladies and gentlemen, tourism is another promising sector which is increasingly being recognized as an important driver of economic growth and job creation. According to UNWTO, job creation, according to the UNWTO, the tourism sector accounts for 5% of the world's GDP, 6% of global exports of goods and services, 8.5% of total employment in advanced and emerging economies, and 30% of world commercial services exports. In Mauritius, over the last 3 decades, successfully diversified its economy. From a monocrop, sugar-based economy, the country diversified its economic base resting on agro-industry, export-oriented manufacturing, tourism, financial services, and ICT services. The tourism sector has over the years emerged as an important pillar of the economy, accounting for 7.1% of GDP and 15% of the total labor force in 2013. Tourist arrivals increased steadily from 761,000 in 2005 to reach 993,106,000 last year, and tourism receipts reached $1.3 billion in 2013. The hotel stock increased to 118 hotels by 2013, representing almost 13,000 rooms. Europe constitutes 55% of the tourist arrivals, with France being the leading market with around 250,000 of visitors every year. And from Germany, it's around 60,000. 10 years ago, Mauritius was depending mainly from Europe. It was around 75% of tourists from Europe, which is very dangerous. Since the last 3 years, I've put a lot of emphasis on diversification, which means that every year we start to work on new markets. And I'm not saying that Europe is not important. Europe remains very important for Mauritius, but every year we start to work on new markets. So during 2013, we have been awarded a lot of awards. For example, these awards are Destination de l'année 2013 to Mauritius, awarded by International Travel Berlin in March last year. Indian Ocean Leading Honeymoon Destination for 2013, awarded by World Travel Awards, awarded in May 2013. Best Honeymoon Destination Worldwide, awarded by World Travel Awards, awarded in November 2013. The Next Travel Destination Award by China Travel Award. The Best Destination Countries 2013 by International Tourism Conclave and Travel Awards of India in October 2013. This year, Mauritius was awarded Best Emerging Island Destination by the Chinese magazine Voyage, a specialist magazine in high-end tourism. Over and above, the Mauritian hotels were awarded international prizes in different segments. These results not only recognize the wide acceptance of our tourism product in niche segments, but also mark our successful penetration of the Asian market, in particular China and India. We have to contend with the fact, on average, a fifth of the population of the emerging markets travel abroad on holidays or vacation every year. The challenge of our tourism operators today is to reorient their marketing strategy, adapt their product offering, and adopt new business practices to take full advantage of the new opportunities arising from these markets. For example, 2 years ago, the national carrier, which is Air Mauritius, retrieved from 7 routes in just 1 year. We retrieved from Munich, Frankfurt, Melbourne, Perth, Durban, Milan, and the last one is not in my head. Well, we had to adapt. So we started to work hard on the new market, especially China and also India. So prospection of new market in niche segments with the right product offering is also being pursued to enlarge our tourist base. Action at the level have been initiated in South Korea, Turkey, Japan, Czech Republic, and the GCC countries. Today, we are living in a world of hyper-connectivity, which has changed the traditional mode of marketing. Internet today is extremely important and is now the order of the day. This seamless technology has greatly empowered the tourists to be at the center of decision making. By clicking on a computer or a phone, you can discover a lot of new travel destinations. To ensure that our island occupies the center of a stage, we have embarked on a variety of e-marketing and direct sales campaigns on major websites. So our market diversification strategy requires an attractive and varied tourism product portfolio to cater for the tastes and needs of new travelers. In this context, Mauritius has broadened its classic offer of sea, sun, and sand to include ecotourism, wellness and spa tourism, underwater safaris, adventure sports, world-class golf courses, cultural tourism, sports tourism, and MICE. For example, in Mauritius, we have a safari, and you can walk with a lion. You can touch the lion. We won't bite you, don't worry. We are well fed before you come. Sports tourism is a fast-growing segment within the global travel and tourism industry. In fact, every year, we host a lot of activities such as golf competition, kite surfing competition, and every year we have a kite surf competition, especially just for the Russian. So, in fact, to conclude, let me highlight the fact that today our entrepreneurs have to operate in a fast-changing business environment. You have to adapt today. If you don't adapt, you don't innovate, unfortunately, you will not survive. So government on its part will have to act as a facilitator, an agent of change by providing the right policy options and creating an enabling environment for the business operators to evolve and prosper. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish again to thank for the organizers for honoring me as the keynote speaker to this global event. I wish you all success and highly commend you for this laudable initiative. Thank you for your kind attention. And if you have questions, I will be pleased to answer the questions.
Okay, so your floor. Who would like to pose the first question? And as always, if you could briefly introduce yourself, that would be excellent as well. Who would like to go first, please?
My name is Yulia Hudoshnik. I'm a journalist from Ukraine. First of all, thank you for a wonderful speech. And I would like to ask you, you pointed out the necessity to diversify markets, and that firstly there were only 75% of those tourists that are coming, they were from Europe. Yeah. Now you are trying to conquer new markets such as China and India. And I was wondering whether those strategies that you used for Europe and now you are trying to use for new markets, if they are alike or they are different.
Very different, in fact. It's
Very
not
different.
the same strategy. This is why I have to say that we have to adapt with each market. For example, when you work for the Chinese market, for example, you need to have the language. You need to have people in the hotel who can speak Mandarin. So myself, I have just started speaking Mandarin. I come from the Chinese origin, but unfortunately, I don't speak Mandarin. So I speak French, English, and Creole. These are the three languages that we speak normally in Mauritius. But we have to adapt. But for example, we hire a PR agency in each country, and then we do what has to be done in this country or this market. But since my arrival at the Ministry of Tourism, we have started to work a lot on the CIS countries, Japan, Korea, China, and GCC countries. That's quite a lot in almost 3 years.
Yep. Hello. Thank you so much for the presentation. My name is Mats Fritzberger from the Danish Foreign Policy Society. I am going to ask you if you could kindly elaborate a bit around security in the context of tourism and regional cooperation, because when it was at its highest, the issues with piracy they proved to to have a very high amount of mobility throughout the western parts of in the Indian Ocean, and even though Mauritius is far off the African Horn, there are still possibilities that it can affect you and the tourism industry. So therefore, you also must have a strategy for it.
In fact,
Thank you.
piracy is outside of it's very far from Mauritius, the piracy zone, if you want, where the Somalian attacks the cruise ship and so on. So Mauritius is quite far from this zone. And we just came from Italy 2 days ago. We have met Costa Croisière, and Costa Croisière will start cruise as from next year, in January 2015. This proves that piracy will not affect Mauritius because it's very far from Mauritius. And I can assure you, one day I had a farm trip in Mauritius with a Chinese, and the Chinese said, before coming to Mauritius, we thought that it's very dangerous in Mauritius because we heard about piracy and so on. But piracy is very far from Mauritius. Don't worry about that. I heard my colleague, Mr. Saint-Ange, the Minister of Tourism of Seychelles, who said that come to paradise, which is Seychelles, but there's an author who said, the author's name is Mark Twain. You can check that on the internet. He said that Mauritius existed first. Paradise is a copy of Mauritius.
Well, on that note, Your Excellency, I would very much like to express our gratitude for this excellent lecture, and I think we're all excited to see what the true paradise truly is.
So, Mark, I will invite everybody to come to paradise.
Exactly. So please, if we could join in expressing our gratitude to the Minister of Tourism of Mauritius. Thank you very much.